Welcome to Public Speaking with Peter George. Do you want to be calm, confident, and credible every time you speak in public? Then stay tuned as Peter and his guests discuss public speaking tips, techniques, and tactics that help you increase your impact, influence, and income. Here's your host, Peter George.
You might not be able to define it, but you certainly know it when someone has it. What am I talking about? Confidence. Or maybe competence. That certain something. That je ne sais quoi. And most of us believe that those who have it were born with it. Well, if you believe that, then you want to listen in as my guest, Evelyne Brink, talks about how you can develop those attributes. Evelyne is all about, quote, being you, unquote, but she has made a living being someone else. She's a trained actress and musical performer and has written, produced, and performed one-woman shows around the globe. And she was formally signed to Sony Music. Now a coach of more than 15 years, her clients have gained record deals with Universal Records, won awards, got jobs they never thought they could, connected with people they never thought they'd reach, and built relationships that are tremendously satisfying. Here's my conversation with Evelyne Brink. Hi, Evelyne. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Peter. I've learned how to pronounce your name properly, and it's apparently Peter, even though I want to say Peter. Good evening, Peter, from London.
Here in Rhode Island and New England, it would be Peter. Well, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Evelyne, we're going to discuss confidence and what goes with it. Do you think confidence is natural or learned?
Do you want the honest answer or the entertaining one?
I'll take both.
The entertaining one is, honey, you either got it or you don't. And the honest answer is, confidence is a myth. It's actually, I think, a result of competence. It's a result of deep trust in yourself, which is something that you're cultivating. And the more mature we get, the more deliberately we're cultivating it, rather than expecting it to be handed to us on a silver platter, or as you would say, platter.
So what we feel that when we're more confident, you think that's coming from our increased competence?
So it can, when we speak in these simple terms, it's not the whole truth. So it can be a really useful idea to highlight that confidence is a byproduct of competence. But that's not all that it is. But let's start there. The more competent you are at something, the easier it is to feel confident about it. That's true, right? Let's talk about presenting, public speaking. If you know how to work an audience, if you know how to crack a joke, if you know how to be okay when things go really badly, then it's much easier to be confident than when you don't. Like the nightmares are around, there is me on stage and I don't know what I'm meant to say and everybody's looking at me and I'm just, That's the nightmare. Obviously, I'm not confident in that moment. I don't know what to do. Now, part two is, isn't it true that you can be extremely competent but lack in confidence? And unfortunately, the answer is yes, that is also true. I've seen it. There are highly competent people that lack in confidence. So clearly, confidence isn't 100% competence. It's not the same.
I see that as a public speaking coach where people will hire me and they think they have to get more effective in their public speaking. And I meet them and listen to them and say, you're perfectly fine. Yet they're lacking that confidence. They don't realize how good they are because they're not confident.
What do you do with them?
Depending on if I take them as a client or not, some I actually send to another coach, a non-speaking coach, but it's a leadership coach. But others, I'll work with their public speaking and just see that confidence come along.
Interesting. So some of them, when you work on the actual thing, you do the exposure therapy route. The confidence grows with practice. Great. Or there's a deeper thing to be looked at, and like you're going to a leadership coach. Yeah.
It surprises me. I look at some people and say, you are so good. How do you not see this? Whether it's public speaking or something else. When I married my wife, she is an extremely talented businesswoman, and she didn't have the confidence in herself. And I'd stand back in awe and say, how can you not see this? People respect you. They admire you. You help them. And you have people, competitors, you name it, who think the world of you, and you don't see it. Over time, she learned what she has to offer.
That's amazing. I love that. And I've been actually thinking about this just the other day, driving in the car. I've just been thinking about the importance of sight and vision beyond the eyes. And isn't it fascinating that the deep seeing happens with your eyes closed? So your wife couldn't see how great she was. It wasn't her eyes not like there's not anywhere to look, but it's the seeing inside that was lacking for her. But you could see it because you perceived it.
Everybody but her.
Everybody but her. And then I'm thinking, seeing is believing is something that we say. But most of the times people mean seeing is believing. They mean that if I see it in front of my eyes with my eyes, then I can say it's true. But actually, seeing is believing is a very useful phrase when I look at it from a deeper way. It is believing something that allows me to see it that way. If I believe that I can be a great businesswoman and I see myself as a successful speaker, then it's much easier to grow myself into that person who is. Confidence is Latin and it means confidere, with belief. And the question really is, what do you believe? And it becomes, what do you believe about yourself? What do you believe to be true in a situation? I don't, for example, believe that we're just blanket confident. Like I present as very confident, but that doesn't mean that I actually am blanket confident about everything. I am confident in certain aspects where I have experience, where I believe that I've got what it takes. I just believe that. Doesn't mean I got that. But there are areas where that's easier. And then, of course, other areas, I've got more, I'm aware of insecurities. And in other areas, I'm not even aware of my insecurities. So confidence is not a fixed thing as people often perceive it. So I've seen, when I've been teaching singing in stage schools, I've seen very, very shy young people starting to sing. When their voice opened, I'm putting in quotation marks, became a different person. Their fear, the insecurity, that whatever we saw in them was gone, and they just shone, and they were what we would call confident, because when they were singing, they just stepped into their truth of who they were. So that's the next level that I love to talk about. It's beyond the believing and simply going into what is. When people say to me, I just need to believe in myself more, can you just help me believe in myself more? I think I'm lacking that. And they usually don't have that voice when they talk to me, but, for the sake of this being an audio recording, we want to keep it a little entertaining. I like to point them to a light switch. And I say, do you believe in light switches? And they go, why? What do you mean? Like, do you believe in the light switch? No, yes, I don't know. What am I supposed to say? And then I just point them to, well, when you turn it on, do you have to believe in it so that it works? Or do you just flick the switch? And most people that I speak to say that they flick the switch. And those who have to believe in it first, I don't take on as clients generally. Those are the cases I refer as well, right? So I don't have to believe in the light switch. It just works. And so sometimes this whole believing business, I feel, is overrated because some things just are. So I'm very interested in revealing the truth for something. If you're going on stage and you have a message to present, that's important. That's the truth. Step into that and let the other stuff be secondary. Most of the time when we feel insecure on stage, it's because we're actually over-involved with ourselves. We're becoming actually quite selfish if you think it that way. Because it's all about me, my nerves. What are you going to think? What are you thinking about me? What if they don't like me? Me. You've got a message to present. Let's go into that. And the more you connect to the truth of why you're there, why you're doing this, and who you need to be in that moment, the easier the confidence bit is. So again, it becomes a byproduct of actually being you.
All right, so that's confidence and competence. What about charisma and authenticity? Is one more important than the other?
I find the word charisma overrated again, because it is something usually that people say about you, whereas authenticity is a choice for you. And I'm all into empowering people and stuff, so I think it's more useful to talk about the stuff that you can do something about than getting caught up in the things that other people are maybe putting onto you or not. Isn't this interesting? Because some people go, oh my God, he has so much charisma. And another person goes, who? Although obviously with some people, it's undeniable. But it is still individual. Even with the biggest stars, some of us will go, I don't know why him. I don't know why her. I don't see it. Sorry. Same with the word talent. When I was in New York, it was all about who's got the talent? Do you have the talent? And I used to say, can you tell me, like, do I have the talent? Do you think I have the talent? And I loved when people say, you got it. I'm like, okay, now I get to be confident. But if they didn't see it, then I suddenly lost the confidence. So same with charisma. Some people think I have huge charisma and other people couldn't care less about me. So I'm not that interested in charisma as I am in helping somebody to be authentic. Now, the next question that you could ask me could be, what does that mean? But maybe you'll take me somewhere completely different. Over to you.
No, that's too much of a layup.
I set you up there, didn't I?
You really did. I'm not going to leave that one. So what does that mean?
And it's one of my favorite questions in the world. Because, when people talk about, well, it means that you're just being yourself. You're just deeply being yourself and you express yourself from your heart and your essence. And I'm putting on this voice on purpose to make it sound funny because I once worked as a professional imposter. I was most successful at being someone else. And everybody says, be yourself. But I did really well at someone else. I was known as Europe's premier Madonna impersonator. People paid me a lot of money to not be me, but to be Madonna. And so I'm really big on the topic of authenticity. For I have been a professional fake, yet the way that I was good at being Madonna wasn't by trying to be Madonna, but actually I just allowed to show parts of my personality that then reminded people of Madonna. So, if you want to learn about authenticity, speak to someone who knows how to be fake properly. That's my take on it. So what is authenticity? It's much more varied and could be anything. But I think the piece is it me in the moment? Is it what I want right now? Is it expressing something that's important to me in the moment? That's usually when we feel authentic. Versus, am I going through the motions? Am I paying lip service to someone? Am I saying something to please you or somebody else, but denying the truth that I have in my heart at the moment? That I would categorize as inauthentic.
Are you ready to work directly with Peter and develop your public speaking skills? Then schedule your free call with Peter at petergeorgepublicspeaking.com/call. Again, that's petergeorgepublicspeaking.com/call for your personal coaching and support. Now back to Peter and his guest.
Do you think there are all different authentic us's, all different versions, in that we're authentic when we're up on stage? Hopefully we are anyway. We're authentic when we're sitting home with our feet up on the coffee table, having a beer, watching sports. We're authentic when we're meeting our in-laws for the first time. And I think you hit the words at that moment, in that place, at that time.
I like to point out that we play different roles and we wear masks. I didn't just wear a mask in the form of my guys in costume and makeup as Madonna, but everybody wears a mask in different circumstances. And that is not wrong. When you have a job, let's say you work in corporate, of course you're playing the role of the corporate employee. Let's say you are C-suite, but you're playing the role of that C-suite executive. It's a role. It's not the same that you are at home in your tracksuit or naked or making love to your husband or wife. And it shouldn't be. So playing roles and wearing masks is a very natural, very healthy process. And one of the gifts that we have being human. We have so much choice in what to express at which point. It's cool. So if we know that that's okay and that's also real, then that also belongs into authenticity. But then the question becomes, what's authentic as my corporate self? What's authentic as my spouse self? What's authentic in each role? And the best way I can help people with that is really to find your desire, find what's true for you in the moment, find what you want, and dare to say or be that. And that's actually already a lot of work, isn't it?
And you hear people say that, well, I can't work in corporate because that's not authentically me. I wouldn't be authentic.
That's what I said for a long time. Yeah,
You certainly can be.
I agree. I mean, I thought that if I had to go into corporate, it would be selling my soul. I have got this really strong artistic self, and I would be selling out. Even doing Madonna was a huge... Oh, it took a lot actually to allow myself to do that, because I'm a singer-songwriter and a comedian and an actress and a writer, and I've created my own one-woman shows from the age of 17, 18. And quite frankly, it's hard to make a living with that in England. In Germany, I did actually quite well, but I moved to England because I was in love with an Englishman. When Madonna came into my life, as in being a tribute act, I was waitressing in a cafe, and I remember this lady saying, "Do you know who you look like?" And I did know, because a lot of people told me in New York, people would turn their heads and tell me. So I'm like, what do you think? Because you also don't want to be presumptive. I'm like, yeah, I know. I look like the queen of pop. That's why I'm serving you coffee. So you don't say that, right? So I'm just like, playing the coy thing. "Oh my God, you look like Madonna. You should do a Madonna tribute act." And I remember thinking and saying, "What is that?" "Well, it's where you sing Madonna songs and you act like Madonna. And, people pay good money for you then to do a Madonna show." And I said, why would I want to do that? I write my own songs. And then I realized I was carrying coffee.
Okay, money makes a difference.
Well, and it took me a while to think, well, wait a minute. She said they pay you good money and I'm getting paid minimum wage. And then wait a minute. I would be acting, would I not? Madonna, I'm not Madonna. If I'm doing Madonna, that's me acting Madonna. I'm an actress. Oh my goodness. Imagine playing the most powerful woman in pop. Would you say no? I'm like, oh my goodness, it's the role of my life. And I get to dance, and I get to sing, and I get to get paid. Holy crackers, I want to do this. So I had to reframe it that way. Then I got excited about becoming Madonna tribute. We're talking about authenticity, and I want to point to the fact that even if you are growing into a new version of yourself, to me, that is not inauthentic. It's inauthentic if I don't want it. If it was really selling my soul, then I feel it's inauthentic. But actually, I was very authentically becoming something new and growing myself.
Well, as human beings, we shouldn't be tied to just one facet of ourselves.
Right?
We have the opportunity to have several, if not numerous, facets and play in those different fields and still be true to ourselves.
So then it's such a philosophical question. What does true to yourself then mean? What is this self that you're true to? Who is this self that you're true to? And you will find that people with more anxiety and less permission to try new things and be different things, they don't give themselves a lot of permission to be different versions of themselves. They think, this is me. Well, that's just not me. And what I've learned in these many lives that I've been fortunate to lead is every time I say, this isn't me, I'm like, okay, watch out for this one. You have no idea who you are or you are not. You could be anything. So it's actually a great idea to say yes more often. But as long as you have an excitement, as long as there's a yes in you, then I do absolutely think it's authentic, even if it's not what you're used to in the moment.
What happens when someone gets their confidence beat up? I mean, they really had a tough time. How can they feel more confident? How can they grow to be competent?
I love that question so much. And I think sometimes when I talk, it sounds like I've just had this confidence piece. Trust me, I've had it knocked out of me many, many times. So I'm really, really familiar what it feels like to not have much self-belief and self-trust left. Absolutely. From on a personal level, going through a very difficult relationship that's left me with complete exhaustion, difficulty to even get through the day because it was so eroding on my self-view. To, as an actress, did I get the big roles? Am I in Hollywood? No, I'm not. Have people told me that I just wouldn't make it, that I don't have it? Many, many times. And then they say, Evelyne, just don't take it personal. Every audition I didn't get, every time where they just look away and they don't care, it really hurts and it does erode on your so-called confidence. So I'm super familiar with all these things. So I love speaking to that. How do you grow it back was your first question. And I don't think that there's a one-size-fits-all, unfortunately, or fortunately maybe, because there are many, many ways to grow it back. One thing is We talked about seeing as believing and the seeing as a deeper seeing. When you meet somebody who sees what you don't see and reflect it back at you over time, and you start to trust that person, that can really work wonders, like you have worked for your wife. After a while, it's very difficult to negate your vision because it's constantly literally in her face. So it does something to you. You impact other human beings. So surrounding yourself with people who can see the goodness in you, who can see your talent, is extremely healthy and helpful. Where you don't have the esteem, when you don't have self-esteem, in that place we do need to esteem from others. So make sure you go to people who actually esteem you, not tear you down. That's number one. And number two, there's always a part where the hero in every story has a conversation with themselves or their God or their higher power, whatever you want to call it. They're having this conversation with that bigger thing, and that realization that, wait a minute, it's somewhere along the lines of either it's up to you, you're going to have to turn this around, or it's along the lines of, this isn't true, is it? These are just thoughts. These are just thoughts, and you can think other thoughts. Or you could just not take the thoughts so seriously, because thoughts change all the time. There is this kind of deeper conversation that you have at some point where you realize that things aren't the way that you held them to be true. And when we are attached to the darkness, we literally have to hold that darkness quite dearly. And once we let go of the grip on it, usually, again, not one size fits all, but usually the human spirit rises quite beautifully. It's like a ball that you hold underwater. All this negativity holds your ball underwater. When you let go of the attachment to it and consider the idea that it might just be different, the ball often goes up quickly. And the next thing you know is you're in a situation where somebody says, oh my gosh, you are brilliant. Then you're even getting the confirmation from outside and things go slowly back up.
Okay, now let's say our listeners are really competent in one situation, perhaps speaking in front of people. They do it quite often. They present well. But then they need to speak on video or on television, something they're not used to. They're going to see themselves, will they not, that they're not all that competent in it and not necessarily have that so-called confidence.
I think this is really important for people to know, that just because you're great on stage or in the boardroom or in your business or in your expertise does not mean you know how to translate that to and through the camera. A lot of people find a lot of relief when I say that to them. Oh, they don't? Oh, no. And we're in a mad world where everybody's been forced in front of the camera. Everybody's got a camera shoved in their face. That does not mean that you know how to relate to it. And again, just because we've now done it a couple of times or a lot of times or every day for the last freaking year, still doesn't mean that we're happy about it or that we're free with it. So the question then becomes, what do you need in order to become fully alive, in order to liberate your genius when in the spotlight on camera? And that's really fascinating and interesting work, and I love it. I'm curious, what do you say to these people?
One of the things I show them is that we don't have that same connection. You say, well, we're speaking face to face, even though we're on video. But there's something about being in the same room, that proximity.
I completely agree. And from the way that you speak, it's very clear that you're an excellent coach. I'm not surprised if people work with you,
well, thank you.
Come along really quickly, because you have this beautiful calm, and you make it so simple. It's like, oh wow, yes, that's so true.
Thank you for that compliment. I appreciate that. And I like what you said, that we've been thrust into this. This was not a selection for a lot of people that, hey, I'm going to be thrilled about doing that on screen. It's just been forced on us. And some people have reacted extremely well. Some got help with it, and some do not do it well at all. But I don't point it out as anybody's fault, because this was not what most of us signed up for.
I really like this compassion that you're throwing in there. It's so easy to say, well, some people take well to it. Some people take well to speaking to the camera. Others just don't. It's not always easy. And it takes something to get there, and it takes support maybe, and training and education and what have you. So the compassion for everyone is so crucial. And it allows you also to have your days where I'm not strong every day. I'm not happy every day in this. Of course not. It would be really weird if I was. And the same thing really is a translation to you having to now bring your whole leadership that you might have developed for decades to be with people because you're a people person. And the next thing you know is you're in your room by yourself for a year. And the only thing is you have the camera, which is exactly what you never wanted. I can understand when people have an issue with that. And I want to extend that compassion that it isn't always easy. And yet, you're right. We can take to it well. We can turn it around. There is an element of choice. There is an element of growth. I don't think that enough people know that training is available in that respect.
I was speaking to a CEO of a company maybe 6 months ago, and he was saying, Peter, it really irks me when I'm on Zoom with my people, vice presidents, high-end managers, and they want to put up the placard, their picture, stop the video. And he says, that really irks me. And I tell them they can't do it. And I said, why do you do that? And he says, I want to see their faces. I said, is that for you or for them? And he says, well, it's really for me because I get feedback and all. And I said, I get it. If you talk to a bunch of pictures, it's a real difficult thing to do. And I went right back to, but we're forced to do this right now. They didn't sign up for this. If you want to be a good leader, I think you have to let them purport themselves on video as they need to.
Wow.
To stand or sit in front of a screen and stare into it for 90 minutes at a time is an extremely difficult thing to do. And he goes, well, if they have the picture up, I can't tell what they're doing. I don't know. Maybe they're exercising. Maybe they're doing yoga. But if they're listening and partaking, isn't that what matters?
I hope so. I think that's great. There was so much in what you just said. I love how you really draw out the service mindset. And that is wonderful. That shift is very, very useful for people. So if you're terrified because people aren't looking back at you and you're not getting the feedback, well, that is really for you. But what you want is to give, not to take. If you're the speaker, if you're the leader, you're here to serve. And so I love what you said about let them do what they need to do and you do your service. And that's just brilliant. Stroke of genius there. Because that goes, oh, I can only imagine the other person, oh yeah, well, that's what I want to do. And suddenly I'm more permissive because you're right. It's micromanaging. It's quite controlling. Well, I don't know what you're doing. Is it your business what other people are doing? Really?
What if they do have their photo up and they are doing yoga and that inspires them or makes it easier for them to have greater output, greater contribution? Isn't that a cool thing?
Isn't that so great? I love that. I love that the camera and using video isn't just one thing, but it really is what you make it. And now we're getting into this place where I feel people are becoming deliberate with it. One of the things that I propagate is when you're on video, go designer on the top and go super casual on the bottom. Be comfortable. So with the video piece, that's the freedom I want to bring to people. And I was like, well, do the same.
And look at all the people who are communicating around the world. Now, we could have done that by phone, but we're getting to see the other person. So yeah, it's not being in the same room. It's not that feel, but at least you're getting to see other people while you're speaking to them. I
like to say that being on video is the second best to being in the room with people. I'm never going to say, yes, real connection. There's a beautiful energetic transmission. We're not going to knock that ever. And it's just not where we are right now. So what I love to do is to look at the possibilities this brings. And people say we're more disconnected because we have so much technology. Well, my aim is to bring more human connection using that technology because that piece is really within our choice. And when we use the camera to become more deeply human, when we become more expressive and more alive with our voices and our faces and our bodies, and that transmits through the camera, then we can really foster deeper connection. Whereas before, the traditional corporate personality was more poker-faced. But we're turning everything on its head. It's no longer don't express, don't show. It's now show. Be human, show even more, share something about you because I need to feel your humanity to know that I'm still sane. And I think that's a great opportunity now. It's healthy.
It's authentic.
Oh yeah, look at you. Bringing it over, looping it right. What a pro. Looping it right back. It's authentic. It's authentic.
Evelyne, this has been informative and it's been a ton of fun. I really appreciate you joining us on this episode. Where can people learn more about you?
Thank you so much for having me. It's so exciting. And I've really enjoyed this too. Where can people learn more about me? So obviously on the internet, you can find me on www.brinkcoaching.com. And I have an Instagram, which is under my name, Evelyne Brink. I love my Instagram. On LinkedIn, of course, Evelyne Brink. And the quirky thing about my name is that it's the French spelling. So that's important. Otherwise, you land with a colleague who's also actually, there's an Evelyne Brink without the E at the end. So my name is Evelyne. And then Brink, as in on the brink of madness. I rest my case.
So there's 3 E's.
Yeah, really beautifully balanced, yeah. At the front, at the end, and in the middle.
Thanks again for being on. Been a pleasure.
It's been a super pleasure. Thank you so much, Peter.
That's a wrap of another episode of Public Speaking with Peter George. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Tune in Monday when you'll hear another episode of Public Speaking with Peter George, and again Thursday for your next episode of Quick Bites, public speaking tips and techniques you can digest in 5 minutes or less. Until next time, remember, when it comes to speaking in public, you've got this.